That took a little longer than normal to start, not gonna lie. So please. Anyway, hi guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Sunday. This is, I have to say it before we forget. This is Wrestling Made Me Cry. I'm Kiley. That is Collins. And we talk about the things in wrestling that make us cry. Every Sunday. Hold on. I thought there was a scratch in my cup, but it was just, I guess, one of my hairs. I don't know. I was like, how did I scratch this metal cup? But let me move my mic into a good spot.
What are you drinking this morning?
I have just a coffee with caramel coffee creamer in it.
Oh, are you simple? So caramel and chocolate. Where are you? Together? Separate?
Together, yeah. I'm a big fan. I think they go so well because caramel obviously is very, very sweet. Mm-hmm. It's made from sugar. I think it's just sugar and milk and butter. And then coffee or chocolate, like it's bitter. Mm-hmm. And so you put them together, you have a dream combo. What is your stance on salted caramel things?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
10 out of 10. Okay. Sea salt. There's a chocolate shop downtown Seattle. And I'm not going to name the name because it's in French. And if I say it, people slaughter me. Okay? Yeah. Don't slaughter me. It's like, I'm not even going to try and say it. But they have like sea salt caramels, just like the caramels, mm-hmm. right? And they're like this big, right? So it takes some time to chew through it. But they also do like the chocolate tier where they like dip it in chocolate and do the sea salt on top. There's just something about the sea salt, especially like being in downtown Seattle. You can smell the salt air. Mm-hmm. Like it's just magic to me. So
I love that. It sounds like Christmas. Like when and you imagine like, oh, I'm walking into like the North Pole and there's going to be toy shops and candy shops. Like, that's the vibes.
It is the vibes. So when are you coming to visit?
As soon as I can, honestly. I was going to for Wrestle Dream and then I couldn't because I'm getting a PhD and, life.
Sorry.
But I want to so bad. But we do have a super chat. I don't know if they're still here. Ryan says, sadly, I can't stay. Y'all stay lovely, besties. Thank you so much.
Love you. Love you,
we bestie. Adore you. If you guys want your question, comment, whatever, read on air, make sure to submit a super chat, and we'll read all of those. Yeah. What a week in wrestling. And we took last week off because, honestly, guys, I was
there wasn't much, though.
There wasn't much to talk about, and so I was also like, it was just a really stressful week, and then also I got a hurricane like a few days ago. So, but listen, there was no way I was going to miss talking about Nigel McGuinness. No way.
Oh my gosh. Do we want to just jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
Okay, opening Grand Slam on Wednesday with Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. As someone who, like, that was my first experience to Ring of Honor, right? Was the Danielson and Bryan feud, because for a very long time, it was just whatever I could download online, right? Or whatever I could trade DVDs with my neighbor at the time. So this was like, it was like 2006-ish was like a pivotal time for me of like exploring things outside of WWE. And it was like something that I was genuinely following, mostly because Bryan Danielson is from my neck of the woods. So
naturally,
granted, he's just been a part of my vernacular for a very long time. And I remember watching their 2006 very iconic wrestling match for the title, and I was enamored, right? Just the things that they could do, this storytelling that they could do with their bodies. This match harkened back to everything that I was feeling in 2006, which is so wild, so crazy that something that resonates so deeply with me in my childhood could spark so much. There was so much storytelling. Yeah. Nigel didn't seem like he skipped a beat. There wasn't much ring rust to kind of shake off. And the end, was he saying thank you or fuck you before he submitted?
When I saw it, I thought he was going thank you. And then I got on Twitter and people were saying that he was saying fuck you.
Right.
It's like, you remember, are they saying Yanni or are they saying Laurel? I don't know.
Right.
But I think either way, like the story of Nigel McGuinness, who wrestled his, last match, which is now not his last match, but in 2011, wasn't it? Yeah. 2011. Mm-hmm. So that's 12, 13, 14, 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
13 years-ish. And he comes back, and he's going to wrestle Bryan Danielson, which is a match that Nigel McGuinness alone has been building, like the story and everything on commentary and interviews, like all that kind of stuff. He's been doing it on his own. And he comes out, he looks great. He's tan, he's jacked, he's ready to go. Danielson comes out, looks great. He has on like a really nice, like dragon skin coat.
Oh, because he's so awesome. So awesome.
Yeah. He and then he comes out to Final Countdown, which they had played his entrance song before. He didn't come out. Nigel McGuinness demands the count out, which was a little weird because, like, you're not going to win the title then, but he just wanted to win. I think he did not really care about the title. He wanted to beat Bryan Danielson.
It's because Bryan fears Nigel.
And you know what? So listen, at some point in this match, I believed it.
Yeah.
Like Danielson, he knows Nigel McGuinness as a wrestler intimately because they have so much history. He's seen him. He's sung Nigel's praises in interviews, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so Nigel comes into this match, and it's basically like a must-win scenario for him, and he wrestles it like it's must-win. Like, he is not trying to go easy on Danielson. He doesn't care if he injures Danielson. He's in it for himself. And, there's callbacks to their prior matches. There's also new stuff where you can see where Danielson has evolved in the last 13 years in ways that McGuinness hasn't. So he's like behind a step a little bit, and you can see his like frustration with being behind a step. But like, this match had no business being this good. Nigel McGuinness had no business being away for over a decade and coming back and putting on a banger in a promotion, mind you, full of wrestlers who can claim to be the best wrestler on the planet.
Absolutely.
So, like, what a talent Nigel McGuinness is. And I'm so glad he got to have this. The crowd went nuts for Nigel. Like, his entrance, every spot, he did everything. They were going crazy for Nigel McGuinness. And I just loved everything about this match. It's on my match of the year list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean,
she got
not
right
shocked.
Up there.
Not shocked.
This was everything I love in wrestling. Like, I obviously, and you know this about me, I love the flashy stuff, the cool tricks, all that kind of stuff. But I love, like, this really gritty, emotional, there's a helicopter outside, sorry if you hear it, this really gritty, emotional, story-driven kind of stuff. And I love it even more when people who deserve to get their due. And I think Nigel McGuinness proved that he deserved every second of this.
Mm-hmm.
This was chef's kiss. Like, this is wrestling for me, at least. This is wrestling, like, at its best.
I would agree. And I think that's the thing that, I mean, as someone jumping back into fitness, right? After being a college athlete, after going through rises and falls, and I got the vid and trying to get my stride back, I have to say, like, going from, I mean, he was at like top of the top, like professional wrestling, like athleticism, right? That there's like a tier of it that, yeah, you could be great at wrestling, but you have to be at this elite level, right? And they say, yes, repetition is, part of it. and keeping those move sets, and everything does fly back naturally. But I did feel his frustrations, Nigel's frustrations, especially when he went to like do some holds or do some leg work or what to say or whatever, where I did see the frustration with his own body of being like, I'm an older man. This is a little bit more difficult. Like, I'm not moving like I did in 2011. Like, this is frustrating. And I can relate to that frustration of being like, I don't understand. This is so frustrating because all I do is like be at that elite level because my brain knows what that feels like. And then you're just not. But Danielson is still at that elite level. He's been going since he returned in 2018 to full-time status. 2017, 2018.
All right.
Time is well, because he like came back and then left and then came back.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the eco title that he had. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, that was 2019. That was like
that was 2018, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh. Because we went to the SmackDown episode when they were here and he was the Planet's champion. And it was the same episode. And because I rewatched it recently, where Ali, remember, he was like getting pushed. That's where he got injured. And I totally like escaped my brain of like, that's where he got injured. And it was right before Elimination Chamber. And then that's where Kofi was slotted in. And I'm like, oh my God.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the Kofi Mania. Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Found that shirt, by the way. I redid my closet yesterday. So I found my Kofi Mania shirt.
Speaking of, listen, I have to say.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. I was going to show my shirt of the day at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
And I forgot. Today, our shirt of the day. Last show, I said that we were going to start working through my closet of wrestling shirts. I was going to wear a different one every week. We're going to have fun. I have Brody Lee versus Cody Rhodes dog collar match shirt. A prized possession.
Yeah.
It looks like in pristine condition because I very rarely wear this shirt. It's like really, really special to me. But wearing it for you guys because, one, the lumberjack strap match, which what an invention. We'll talk about that in a bit. And two, it's wholesome, and I feel like we need a feel-good moment. So,
I went suit, and I am just here to pop Kiley with my old school Young Bucks.
You came onto camera before the show, and I was like, yo, that is... The Young Bucks had some banger t-shirts in the past.
Yeah.
We need to get back to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My favorite part of... So I am a mall connoisseur. I love malls. Yeah. I don't think that malls will ever escape that frontal part of my brain. Say what you will about malls, but like the culture of like walking by a Hot Topic.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh, what's for display there? That's where I bought my first Bullet Club shirt was at Hot Topic because I saw it and I was like, I've heard this Bullet Club thing. I kind of watch New Japan every once in a while. And I bought it before I was like a stan because
why not?
Why not? And then I was like, okay, I'll watch some New Japan. Oh, I'll watch Wrestle Kingdom. Oh, who is this Kenny Omega person? Oh, who are these Young Bucks characters? And I'm just like, it was a day, and I'll keep that close to the chest of like how I felt. I don't even know, 2015, 2016. Oh my God, so long ago.
Yeah, because I started watching New Japan when Finn Balor or Prince Devitt was in the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And because that's what drew me to that. So that was like 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
Okay. And then I started watching Being the Elite when Kenny Omega kicked AJ Styles out of the Bullet Club, I think. So that was 2016.
Yeah. Because that's when I started watching.
So I bought my first Bullet Club shirt. Kind of like the same story, except I went to a Hot Topic and they had, I don't know why, but like every shirt that they had was in cardboard boxes, and they were like buy 2 get 3 free or something like that.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on in this Hot Topic. It didn't go out of business because I've been there since. But I got a Hangman shirt, a Bullet Club shirt, and an Undertaker shirt. And then my sister got some like band shirts, whatever. But I still have all of those. We'll see them in the rotation, guys. Don't worry. I was gonna wear my blue New Day shirt. My I think it's a Budio shirt. I can't remember. But I pulled it off out of the closet and I looked at it and I was like, she's teeny tiny. I thought that I was a child. But I have some other old ones that we're gonna talk about. But Bullet Club throwback. I miss Kenny Omega.
I just miss Kenny Omega too. Seeing the Kota Ibushi posts has given me hope that he will return soon. I don't want him to return too quickly because we all know the intensity and seriousness of diverticulitis. Like, and knowing that like he came back and then had to leave again because complications. It can kill you. So let's keep him alive.
Yeah. Here's what we're gonna do. Kenny Omega. We're gonna put him in bubble wrap. I would rather have Kenny Omega wrestle like once or twice a year than never wrestle again. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. But in the pictures, like he was at, I don't know, like a video game event or something. And I'm not in like the fighting games world, so I'm not really sure. But he was there. He looked to be in great shape. He looked healthy. He looked strong. There's a video of him and Kota Ibushi like boxing, training boxing and something. You know, weird stuff like athletes like them do. I let elite athletes do whatever they want to do. They all do freaky stuff. But he looked good there. So I'm not saying Kenny Omega's coming back soon. But I will say that I am very, very happy to see him looking more like himself. And which we didn't know if we would ever get Kenny Omega back into that kind of shape.
Right.
But I hope he comes back soon. I miss Kenny Omega.
It doesn't feel like AEW without him to me.
No, so. And listen, now that you're wearing the Young Bucks shirt, now I'm thinking the Young Bucks at Grand Slam, they wrestled Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, which I have thoughts on the match, but before I want to talk about the Young Bucks gear. They come out and they're wearing like EVP suits, you know, how the annoying, ugly gear.
Yeah.
But it has like little bits of neon and little bits of Young Bucks. And Matt Jackson has like 50 pearls in his hair.
Oh my God. It was so beautiful. It was like partway through the match. I was like, are those pearls? Because he's been obsessing about wearing like a pearl necklace because we all know the connotation of a pearl necklace or whatever. And the fact that he is wearing pearls in his hair. Y'all, I don't know specifically how these were installed, but knowing that like he has like an updo, right? Like he has his little hair,
his hair's up. Yeah.
His hair's up. So, and I was trying to like look at pictures of like, were they like, because sometimes you can just take like, kind of like wig glue that it dissolves with only like soap and water. So like sweat and whatever, it's just going to stay on the hair. If they were just glued there, that's fine. Right. No harm, but they look like they had a little ring onto them, which means that they were individually like sewn into like,
like a headpiece. Yeah. I looked very closely at these pearls, and they were 100% sewn in.
That's the effort, because like they weren't moving, they weren't budging. Because like I've seen them like the gems when they're like I'm trying to think. I think it was Chris Statlander who had like gems like on like just like the side of her head, and they were like peeling off after that match. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's probably only like wig glue or whatever. These were not budging. I think I saw one pearl. This man's dedication.
before they axed Being the Elite, which broke my heart, Matt Jackson was doing this bit where he was appealing to the Tumblr community by being very sexual. And I feel like he is carrying that in his heart for the rest of his life at this point.
We need confirmation.
Because Nick Jackson is a feral dog. Like me and Haley used to talk about this on Tag Talk all the time. Nick Jackson's character is that he is a serial killer who is being held back by his friends from doing what he naturally wants to do. Matt Jackson is a male model adult dancer who is very proud of himself. Mm-hmm. But listen, then you get to Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and the whole dynamics of the group change.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Listen, we'll do an episode on the Elite because
absolutely,
we could do this. Could be worse, believe it or not. Yeah. Back in the day of Ring of Honor shows, like you remember those like small intimate Ring of Honor shows when the Elite were there. Yeah. Matt Jackson was kissing Kenny Omega. Nick Jackson was being completely 100% unhinged. Back in the day, Hangman Page used to wear a baseball cap to the ring. Okay, we'll do a Ring of Honor like Elite introspective episode. That's my conclusion here. We need to do it because those pearls got me spiraling.
It was so good, so good. The match itself was. I have feelings about having Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in a tag match when Will Ospreay is clearly not in the tag division. And I did laugh because commentary kept saying, does Kyle Fletcher look any better than he does now? And I immediately said, he's not in a crop top. He's not in a crop top because Kyle Fletcher with his crop top and sunglasses is so like Kenny Omega in New Japan that I'm just like,
he's everywhere.
This radiates so much, like, I don't like to say it, but it's like big dick energy kind of thing. Like,
yeah, BDE,
you know. But the match was really good, and the crowd was so into it, and I was really into the match. I just didn't understand with Don Callis being there and his stupid socksless feet. Sockless. Yeah, because he's always sockless. His shoes have to smell rank. They're like, make no qualms about that. Like, gross. You should wear socks and you should wash your butthole, you know. But wear deodorant. I don't think he does any of those, but I digress. It was a great match for Grand Slam. But I don't know the reason for it. I don't agree with the reason.
Yeah. So my thoughts on the match, I think the Young Bucks were excellent. I think they showed up with the mission of like saying, you know, F you to the haters. Because a lot of people have been saying that the Young Bucks are washed, the Young Bucks are coasting, they're in their retirement era, blah, 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 which wrong.
Rude.
Because they came here and they were excellent. What I really liked was when Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher were collaborating to cheat, and Will Ospreay was like, no, and then Matt Jackson cheated. It like really showcased like Young Bucks are evil, Kyle Fletcher's evil, Don Callis is evil, but Will Ospreay, he's the only sane one. He's the sane one. He's the good guy. And so I really liked that part of the match. And like, just when you have athletes like these guys and you put them in a ring, it's going to be great. I'm excited for Mark Davis to return because I think Kyle Fletcher has kind of built a name for himself and a fan base for himself as an individual. So I'm interested to see like Aussie Open as a duo, how they sort of become integrated back into AEW. I'm sure it'll be Aussie Open and the Young Bucks whenever. I don't know when Mark Davis is returning. I'm presuming soon because Kyle Fletcher's in the tag division now.
Right.
But
Do you think oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it'll probably be soon. And I think that maybe they'll beat the Young Bucks. I'd rather Private Party beat the Young Bucks if I'm being honest.
would rather Private Party beat the Young Bucks. No, I was just going to mention, do you think that Mark Davis will turn on Will Ospreay?
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think that Kyle Fletcher is probably going to, it either goes one of two ways. Kyle Fletcher is like swayed away from Don Callis by Will Ospreay, or Kyle Fletcher is like whispering to Mark Davis, like, while you were gone, Will didn't stand up for us. He didn't look out for us. Only Don Callis did. We need to get our revenge on Will Ospreay. And then the breakup of the United Empire that way. They've been building for Ricochet Will Ospreay, which is going to be a banger because Ricochet has looked good. Ricochet has looked really good. So I don't know, like, timeline wise, how this fits in. I guess it depends on when Mark Davis comes back. I don't really know. I don't like to speculate on people's like health and that kind of stuff because I think it's rude. But I don't think they would have. I don't know. Some people, they get crazy with it. I'm gonna be honest, but I don't think they would have put Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay in this match and then had the angle where they're like clearly on two very different pages if Mark Davis wasn't coming back soon. In my mind, I'm excited about the Young Bucks sort of getting back to their roots though, because that to me says that we're like moving on to the next step of the EVP story, which the next step of the EVP story is this eventual dissolution and people picking sides. I love that every elite breakup story comes down to Matt Jackson and Kenny Omega not being on the same page, and just I'll save it. But I have thoughts. I could rant about elite lore for hours.
Well, I mean, we should do it. We should do an extra little something.
I'll come prepared with the PowerPoint.
Okay, I'm here for it, Professor Kiley.
Oh, God.
Oh, also on the show, we saw the retirement of the FTW championship. Yeah. Hook defeating Roderick Strong and handing the championship back to Taz. How did you feel about that?
I was really emotional about this, not gonna lie. I see why it had to happen because I think the FTW title has ran its course, and I think we're at the point where it's been holding Hook back.
Right.
But it's still emotional to see Hook retire his dad's title and have Taz there, like, really emotional about this whole thing. Because, like, and I thought back to a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, when people were bullying Taz about the FTW title, and he was just like very sadly like, "Oh, I guess you're right." I don't know. It just
that doesn't sit with me. Wow, that doesn't sit with me.
I'm happy that Hook retired it. Like the title, he's the last one. It's like full circle father-son moment, really emotional. I'm really optimistic about where Hook goes from here because I think now that he doesn't have the FTW title and nobody has it, I think it opens up a lot of doors for him because if someone else had the FTW title and Hook wasn't going for it, that's kind of like an elephant in the room. Yeah. That's his dad's title. But now that doesn't exist, the door's open for him to go do other things. I think it'd be really, really interesting to see Hook sort of shooting his shot and like going for bigger opponents, not Chris Jericho. If Hook goes for Chris Jericho after all this, he can't. I will say I think he would have been a natural fit for Blackpool Combat Club a couple months ago. Blackpool Combat Club, she's in a pickle. She is. Moxley versus Danielson is chef's kiss, obviously. I have no idea where the story's going. But Hook, I think, I don't know. I feel like he has so much potential and they're just not using it.
I agree. And just don't slot him in the Jericho vortex once again.
I can't even think about Jericho pinning Mark Briscoe. Like, we can't even talk about it.
We can't even talk about it because it happened and I'm screaming, right? And Epi, my husband, was like, well, you know, it makes sense and blah, blah. And I'm like, it doesn't, because he's the champion. He's the Ring of Honor champion who doesn't show up on Ring of Honor. Why are we pinning champions?
And then Chris Jericho has the audacity to tease that he's going for the belt. Shut up. Go away. Nothing about the Jericho vortex, the learning tree, any of this is good. You cannot run this Chris Jericho thing when in a promotion where you have Hangman versus Swerve happening, and Hangman's whole story, his whole evolution, all that stuff going on. Christian Cage on his evolution, which, shout out Luchasaurus. Love you.
Obviously.
AEW is in its best like storytelling era, and nothing about the learning tree compares. And I know, like, oh, it's an undercard act. It's supposed to be annoying. That's the point. No. Why is Chris Jericho pinning Mark Briscoe on my TV? If Chris Jericho should have lost.
He should have disappeared.
He should have been pinned. The conglomeration is like this new act that's silly and goofy and fans love it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let them pin the annoying gnat that's been flying around TV and get a win. I was perplexed, bamboozled. I had been cheated by Tony Khan because objectively, Chris Jericho cannot wrestle in 2024. I think it's objective.
I think correct. Yes.
You know who can wrestle? Mark Briscoe.
Everyone else.
Oh. I love that we've moved on from Chris Jericho absorbing younger talent to Chris Jericho absorbing world champions and legends and fan favorites. Why? What? Like, I need to be in the room when Chris Jericho is talking to Tony Khan about his creative, because one, how is he pitching it and getting it approved? Because I need those skills. I need those persuasion skills. Like, teach me. And two, like, does Tony Khan let him do whatever he wants? Like, is that what's happening here? Because it's awful. Big Bill is a better wrestler in 2024 than Chris Jericho. And he is clearly the fan favorite of the learning tree, the Chris Jericho vortex. And Chris Jericho is just pinning world champions. If it had been Big Bill, it would have been forgiven. And it would have been it would have been something that people would have been like, okay, I see where the story's going. Okay. No. It's Chris Jericho. And I love that the chat agrees. Mike says, this is annoyingly awful. Boris says they should do something with Big Bill. Mike says, if one person was to leave AEW forever, it should be Jericho.
Yeah.
Jericho can stay in AEW. Like, I think there's a place for him. The issue is Jericho is older, past his prime, like, physically, and the stories he's producing are subpar and not meeting the mark and the standard AEW has set for itself. So I think there's a place for Chris Jericho. There will always be a place for, like, a mind and a legend like Chris Jericho. I don't think that. Okay, now it's turning into, like, me having, like, a political rant.
No, but please.
I think that promotions, especially when you're as big as AEW or WWE, have a responsibility to take care of older workers. I think that every wrestling promotion should set aside part of its budget for contracts for older wrestlers. WWE has Legends deals. I think AEW should do it as well. I don't think it's ever been a good situation for an older wrestler to be left at the wayside by promotions and not be taken care of. We don't have a union. We don't have a pension system. If you're a wealthy promotion, you need to take that upon yourself. But back to Chris Jericho. I think there's a place for him. I just don't understand why Chris Jericho is being presented in 2024 as someone who needs multiple segments a week, as though he is like this really over deal, like people are really enjoying him, whatever. He moves merch, yes, but it's, for being honest, it's the same person buying every shirt.
It has to be. It has to be like the same group of guys. And because when I go to shows, I don't see those shirts.
I go to shows and it's a lot of Orange Cassidy shirts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of Britt Baker shirts. It's a lot of Adam Cole or like retro elite shirts, things like that. Jericho, and I don't want it to sound like I'm unduly like verbally assaulting him, because I'm not trying to be mean, but AEW has set a standard for itself, especially this year, and he doesn't meet that standard. So it's like, why is he on TV when someone like Ricky Starks isn't, or any of the other talent who aren't, or, it's the conglomeration. There's so much potential there because it's so goofy, so feel good, so silly. And it's just 4 dudes just being friends. And AEW has space for that. But you need to put them against someone who is the exact antithesis of that feel-good stuff. Not Chris Jericho, who is not the antithesis of feel-good. He's just someone nobody wants to watch. Like, the learning tree has run its course. Nobody's annoyed by Chris Jericho because he's doing things well. They're annoyed because he's doing things wrong. Like, there's a very, very clear difference. Like, I'm annoyed at the Bang Bang Gang because they're annoying, but they're doing things right. Okay. Right? So it's like, Chris Jericho, it's the opposite. So I don't know. I will say that I am very intrigued by Kip Sabian.
Mm-hmm.
One. Because if you didn't watch, basically, Christian Cage comes out with his not Money in the Bank contract. What is it called?
It's just his contract.
His contract, his special, his coupon for a world title. His free world title coupon. And he comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm going to get Danielson. I'm going to be a world champion. And Kip Sabian comes out and like takes his pen before he can sign.
That was so funny.
It was so funny.
So funny.
And then he runs backstage, and standing there menacingly, shirtless, is Claudio Castagnoli and Pac, who are...
Why are they hanging back there? You think that they hang back there probably the entire show? I believe it. I think they stay back there and they collect information on like who's not pulling their weight and who's slacking, and they report it to Jon Moxley. So then Moxley in his promo can be like, I heard from my sources that you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think that's what it is. I really do. That is so funny.
The fact that they were just standing there, and the fact, 1, that they were standing there, 2, that both Kip Sabian and Christian Cage were scared of them.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love anything that gets Claudio and Pac on my TV. I'm into, because they're like 2 of my faves who never get the spotlight. I'm excited about Kip Sabian just being everywhere. I love Kip Sabian.
I mean, it's his due time, right? We've been watching him since 2019. We've watched him grow as a wrestler. He has so many great ideas. If people like watching him on occasionally when he Twitch streams, like during the pandemic, that was so much more prevalent than it is now. I kind of wish we could go back to that, just that portion where we were all staying home and, watching streams all the time. Anyways, but he's just like a really genuine, good person that like you can't help but want like someone who is a good person to be successful. And there's just something about him that AEW hasn't capitalized on yet, and he's just so good. He's just
such a good dude. And I've met him a few times, and he's so nice to kids. He's so polite. He like is very, very committed to his character and his story. Like he is an ideal wrestler that you would put in front of like media, or that you would put in interviews or meet and greets or whatever. Which, speaking of meet and greets, AEW needs to get back to doing more of those. But
I know.
I'll save my rant on that. I just love Kip Sabian, and also I think it's interesting that Christian Cage is kind of swirling around and never getting to the point where he's actually cashing in. I think, I don't know if it's going to be Wrestle Dream. I don't know if it's going to be Full Gear. I don't know, but I think, like in my head, I think Luchasaurus is going to cost him, and I think I'm going to lose my mind.
I really wish that you were going to be here for Wrestle Dream, because I am nervous because I probably won't be sitting with my husband. I'm going to have to be composed.
Yep. The media code of silence.
The media code of silence. I'm going to have to be in the realm. Very nervous because I've done media for other shows, but not of this caliber. Caliber, thank you.
Yes.
Something is going to happen at the end.
Yep.
And it's so Wrestle Dream coded that something happens at the end, and I cannot cry. I can't be a Wrestle Dream cry girl. I can't.
So
there will not be another Fightful article about me crying.
I cried at Full Gear 2022 when the Elite came back.
Oh my God.
And I looked behind me where Jackie from Elite POV was.
Yeah.
And she was crying too. We both just sat there. We were just crying. And then I got up and I went to the bathroom. And I was just like composing myself in this. First of all, the Prudential Center, the weirdest stadium.
The weirdest.
So weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I was in the bathroom and I was crying. And I took a selfie in the mirror because I thought it would make me stop crying. And that picture used to be, if you guys remember, it used to be my icon on Twitter. And listen, I was so emotional. And I just remember, and Jackie texted me about this the other day. That's why it's so fresh in my head. I looked behind me and she was crying, and we're just like trying to keep it in, but it was so emotional for me. I was full on sobbing. I had to go to the bathroom. It was really bad. So I get it. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But Mox versus Danielson, there's so many layers. Not just the Blackpool Combat story, but they have so many common enemies. There's so much history with those two, not even in AEW, even before AEW. And it's does Mox be the ultimate heel? Does he become the ultimate heel and beat Danielson in Washington, in his home state? Or does Danielson get the ultimate babyface thing, which he already kind of had it all in? So I think Mox wins. I think I don't know I don't think Christian Cage tries to cash in here. I think Christian Cage, we're pushing him away because I think Mox wins, right? I think Danielson's very sad and oh man, I got to retire now, which I don't think he does retire. I think he becomes fueled by vengeance and seeks out Jon Moxley. But I think Moxley being world champion after he's been in these promos saying, oh, all these people are slackers, nobody's working hard enough, you're not as good as the king. If you're going to call yourself the king, you have to have the title. So I think Moxley comes out world champion. I think we get a really sad Danielson moment. I think they start beating Danielson probably because they're bad guys. I think Wheeler Yuta comes out, presumably to save Danielson. I think he turns on Danielson and rejoins Moxley. I think that's how we close the show. I think Yuta, Darby, maybe Daniel Garcia. I don't know. I think they come out to save Danielson. And then you just psych, and Then we build maybe Darby, Mox, Darby, Yuta, something like that. But I think that's how we close. I genuinely think Wheeler Yuta goes back to Moxley.
Personally, if we're doing fantasy booking here, I think Moxley beats Danielson.
Yeah.
I think Christian Cage comes out.
Okay.
And cashes in. I think that Christian Cage becomes the new AEW World Champion.
Okay.
I think that BCC comes out to help. And Yuta and Bryan fight them off. However, I think it sets up like Yuta versus everybody, like Yuta versus everyone to defend Danielson. And then we just go on a year-long watching Yuta attempt to get revenge, because I'm not going to get out of my brain the rage and anger that was Yuta a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Against Anthony Henry. Because that was so good.
Yeah.
And I
think for me, I think Yuta, if Danielson loses clean, because like the thing is, if he's not world champion, he's done. So I think confronted with losing like an anchor, a mentor, I think Yuta reluctantly turns back to Moxley, and we get like that toxic dad relationship, daddy issues relationship between Moxley and Yuta. I love that we both agree that Moxley's probably winning, and then watch it would be like, psych, it's Danielson somehow.
But there's an entire section that is VIP only. That is like, yes, floor tickets are like $300. The VIP is double that.
It's crazy.
I want to know what's in the VIP package.
I don't know. You get, I don't know. I've never bought a VIP for any wrestling show. They're always so expensive. I had floor tickets, but I've never had like VIP. I had floor tickets for Moxley versus CM Punk, which
that sounds bloody.
It was. But
that's a risk.
I think Moxley being world champion right now, I think, is the best move because of the story he's telling with Danielson and everything that's going on. I think that Wheeler Yuta being trios champions with Pac and Claudio is interesting. But on Collision, that because they defended the titles. The match itself was fine, but it was interesting to see Claudio and Pac kind of being like, do the right thing, Yuta. Let's go, Yuta. Do the right thing. We're trio champs, blah, blah, blah. And Yuta just kind of being like caught in the middle of his own wants and desires and like what he feels like is the expectations placed upon him. So Yuta, I think this whole story ultimately is about Wheeler Yuta and making sure Wheeler Yuta is set up to be, the next star in AEW and that kind of stuff, which he deserves. It should have happened a long time ago. But I don't know. I love everything about this. I love that it's Moxley Danielson this time, because last time was the, we got to bleed together situation. Remember Moxley was like, you got to bleed with me to be my friend. Like,
in order to be my friend, you gotta bleed.
You gotta bleed. And now here we are, where Moxley's like, you bled too much. You gotta go. Yeah, I'm really into, like, I don't know if you guys could tell, I'm really into this whole BCC story. A couple people in the chat had mentioned MVP, so I just want to talk about MVP for a second. So Prince Nana comes out, he's like giving a promo about Swerve, and then MVP debuts in AEW. And he's basically like, you're a failed job of a manager. You are awful. Swerve is, out injured, presumably, like failing, lost his title, lost everything because you suck as a manager. And I'm going to be a better manager. And then he gives Nana the card that says Hurt Syndicate, which, if you are not familiar, MVP was a manager of a faction. And within that faction was one Mr. Bobby Lashley, Mr. Robert Lashley. What are they? Can he call himself Bobby Lashley?
Yeah, because that's his name. Like, he used it in TNA.
That's true.
Why not?
Yeah,
he used it in when he was doing MMA, right? So
yeah, that's so. I just think back to yeah, but Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin was. I don't know where Shelton Benjamin is. I'm gonna be honest.
He's putting in the work right now. He was just up in my neck of the woods, and it was one of those things of, oh, Defy's running tonight. Oh, Shelton Benjamin is here. Oh, okay.
I love Shelton Benjamin. Corey says, and he says, I hope he uses Bob Lashley like Rusev did. I hope he calls himself Robert Lashley. I like, remember when Bobby Roode became Robert Roode?
Robert Roode, yeah.
I feel like that was not good. But this, Robert Lashley, I'm into it. But anyway, Bobby Lashley was not on this show. But MVP was. And the Hurt Syndicate on the little business card, which is not a business card because there's no phone number on it, no mailing address, no anything. It's just Hurt Syndicate. MVP, Hurt Syndicate. But I'm excited because in my head, right, Swerve being with MVP or not being with MVP, I don't know. But something about Swerve and Prince Nana not being like on the same page, dream team dynamic they were. And Swerve, I'm going to presume wrestling Bobby Lashley. I don't think they would put him in a tag team with Bobby Lashley.
No.
I'm going to presume that they're wrestling. I don't know. But any mixture of this, I think, is so super interesting. And I'm going to say right now, for the people who are listening, I do not accept MVP slander. Because you know what?
Oh, absolutely
MVP
not.
Stayed true to himself and his beliefs and his culture and everything at a time in WWE where it was very clear he was trying to be pigeonholed into a specific role. Okay? So
he also punched the F out of
Chris Jericho. On a cruise ship. That was ran by who? Chris
Jericho.
Icon. So MVP, in my book, gets to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And if that means coming to AEW and having a faction full of, black men and elevating them and giving them the space, I'm into it. Also, people who are saying, well, AEW doesn't need another old WWE guy. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care if he's 97 years old. I don't care. I don't care if he has to be wheeled around like the chocolate lady in SpongeBob. Can do whatever he wants. He has earned it. And you know what? He got on that mic and he ate Prince Nana up. Ate him up like a Stouffer's lasagna. And you know what? I need to see more of it. I love MVP. For years, he had a theme song that said, like Tropicana, I got the juice. And he made it work. MVP, icon star. I don't accept any slander. I will go to war for MVP.
Okay. What I love about MVP is that he's always been like a man about the business, right? That sounds so silly to be like, oh, he's a man about the business. He really is like a man for the wrestling business. The fact that during the Royal Rumble, he came back just so that his child could see him wrestle. And then they were like, oh, you can still go. Why don't you, I don't know, come back during this like weird pandemic time, this weird, whatever the hell is going on, and like, manage these guys, wrestle. I don't care. Just be on TV, because he really is that undeniable talent. And unlike Chris Jericho, people actually want to see him work. He's got so much left in the tank. And I don't know about you, but he is fine as hell, and he can take up all the time that he wants on television, and he comes so well dressed.
So well dressed.
So well dressed.
Fashion forward, too. He's not a conformer.
I love a suit. And you know what I like about, him coming in is he has a very direct plan, right? Mm-hmm. This Hurt Syndicate. The fact is, he goes, you're just out here dancing. And it's like, oh, because Prince Nana has been dancing this whole time. He's out here selling his coffee. We all know, outside of the kayfabe, that the coffee is excellent. If you have had his coffee, have you had the Prince Nana coffee?
I haven't.
All right, Kiley. I see your dedication.
Okay, well, that's enough for wrestling today.
I'm going to send you some Prince Nana coffee when I do my next order, because it's so good. And I think it's for, helping good causes, which I always enjoy, but I got it as a gift. So I'm working my way through it. Anyways, but I like the way he came in and then left. So he didn't show us all his Franken beans. You know what I mean? He didn't put it all out there. He just said, here's my card. Popped the crowd, popped me at home, popped everyone else at home, because now we're planting the seeds of what is to come, because that's what you want in your wrestling show. You want people to be like, what is going to come? What does this person bring? Because now I want to watch more.
Yeah. And the crowd went crazy for it. And also, I have to say, there's a little bit of intrigue in not knowing exactly who is going to be in the Hurt Syndicate, because I think Bobby Lashley, there's been no concrete reports or anything that says Bobby Lashley is 100% there. We haven't gotten an All Elite graphic or anything like that. But AEW has a lot of young black talent. And there's also a whole wide world that MVP could be bringing with him. So I'm really, really interested to see how this shakes out, because obviously Swerve is involved in this somehow, which I think is Swerve against Bobby Lashley. I think that is the biggest thing you can do. And so who else? Because if MVP is here to elevate people, you have Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs, who feels like a natural successor to Bobby Lashley in that regard. You have save Brian Keith. Save Brian Keith. Hashtag,
save Brian Keith.
Hashtag get it trending. But there's a lot of people in AEW, right, who could easily just switch over to MVP side and be absolute icons. Because the Hurt Syndicate is such a cool idea. And I would love MVP to sort of gather people up and gather them up, but gather people and really sell that these are the next big stars. And people were really, really upset when Swerve over the week. Sorry, there's a hurricane. My brain is all skewed. But was talking about representation in WWE and how important it is to be a black man who succeeds on his own merit, and to pave the way for young talent, but also so people at home see black representation in a positive way. And I think Swerve has been a really great example of that. And so I'm really interested. I don't think Swerve turns on Prince Nana. But I'm not entirely sure, because MVP is offering him something really great. And I think Swerve objectively would know that. I just don't. I'm so intrigued by this. Mike says Benjamin and the Beast winning the new tag titles works for me. Corey says he helped carry WWE during a pandemic, elevating 3 of their men compared to where they were at the time period. I don't see his arrival anything but a net positive 100%. Tanner, shout out Tanner, says please save the bounty hunter.
Amen.
Amen. Jose says Trish Adora would be awesome. I didn't even think about women. There's so many. Go into Ring of Honor. MVP, if you're listening, go to Ring of Honor. Athena?
I was about to say, think of Athena. Right
I didn't even, Jose, you're so right. I didn't even think. Because I was so caught up in Swerve Bobby Lashley, which would be a banger match, by the way. But everything about this is so full of intrigue. I think that's like the story coming out of Grand Slam, to be honest, that everything is so full of intrigue. But MVP, this was a great promo. Prince Nana sold it beautifully. He looked like scared, to be honest. He looked afraid of MVP. And I love that it came out of nowhere. Like, I was not expecting. I mean, there's been reports that MVP was going to AEW. If you're in the know, if like you're paying attention.
For Fightful.
Yeah, from Fightful. Fightful Select is only $5, by the way.
Yeah, best $5 in the business.
Best $5 in the business. Sean is chef's kiss peak. But I didn't expect MVP to just walk out and be absolutely insanely well received. Like, the crowd went crazy. Prince Nana was just giving a pretty generic interview. I like had checked out because I was like, okay, Prince Nana is going to tell me that Swerve is coming back and he's going to go for Hangman, whatever. And then MVP comes out and he's so good, and I'm just so into it. I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am.
We're excited about wrestling.
Because it's like AEW, they bring in managers, and like some of them are hits, like Prince Nana, but then you get the rare Don Callis. So it's like you always got to be a little skeptical of AEW's history with managers. But MVP is just an absolute star, and J.K. Williams is right. Adora, Athena, Amanada, Red Velvet, plenty of options in Ring of Honor.
Absolutely,
plenty of options. And all of them would be great. And in general, I think that any talent being associated with MVP in this role gets elevated because MVP does such a good job of selling people on the mic. He's just in a league of his own in that regard. So I'm so excited for MVP and AEW. I won't accept any MVP slander. So keep those thoughts inside your head.
Absolutely. I need to know your opinion, though, about the Lumberjack strap match from last night.
What was this? Because I thought that they were just merging the strap match with the Lumberjack match. But the Lumberjacks had belts and were whipping people. The Dark Order saw Hangman and they said, we got to get him. And
yeah,
this was not what I thought it was going to be. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I think it might be better because it was so funny. It was a weird situation. I liked the match. I thought Hangman looking like apocalyptic. Like, he looked like he was on top of a tower looking down at the world burning. Like, he was so far off, like in the distance. His brain was not there. Liked that. The match was good. It was Hangman. Everything with Hangman is going to be good in my book.
He got a haircut, by the way.
Was very bizarre.
The one thing that was bizarre to me was Juice Robinson and the Gun Club.
Oh, yeah.
And their outfits, because there's always going to be one wrestler who takes the Lumberjack memo a little bit too seriously. Yeah. But I was fully expecting everybody to do it.
Nope. Nope.
And I just see Juice Robinson at the corner of my eye, and I'm like, he's wearing his trunks with his plaid shirt tucked into them with suspenders and a beanie.
It was kind of a look.
He is a feral animal.
I'm telling you, he is. He's rabies. If rabies embodied a human being, it would be Juice Robinson. He is rabies.
Oh my god.
It's so crazy. I love him though. And Juice Robinson, anytime Juice Robinson shows up, everything is better. It just is.
True. Somebody posted something on Twitter that they were like, throwback to Juice Robinson versus Kenny Omega back in New Japan. And I'm like, I feel like I need to rewatch that match, knowing how Juice has fleshed out his personality, but the skill is still there. I don't know. I haven't watched that since it probably happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just want to peek inside their home. You know what I mean? Like that is the reality show that I want to. Yeah, that's the reality show I want to see. Like Tony Storm and Juice Robinson. Like, can I have a peek into what their daily life is like? Because he
either sleeps till noon or he gets up at 3 a.m. Like, there's no in between. Like, that's just how it is. I want to know what his phone lock screen is. It could be the most unhinged thing ever, or it could be just like a black screen.
It could be his butthole.
It could be.
Or it could be the skyline.
Juice Robinson.
The default.
That should be our next big request of Tony. Let's get it trending. All right.
I'll go get an interview with Juice Robinson and I'll ask him. He'll show me.
Show me your phone lock screen. Show me. That's the ultimate test of a person. What is their phone lock screen? Mine is me and my friends. Oh, let me swipe those notifications. Don't look.
I'm looking.
And where are we? I think this was Chicago. Oh, yeah, this is Chicago, and I think this was the day CM Punk was fired. I think so, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because me and Haley, I wore an Elite shirt, and Haley wore a Young Bucks shirt. Yep, that was the day CM Punk was fired.
Here's mine.
See, we're like wholesome, happy people.
We're dressed up as Link and Zelda on Halloween.
Cute.
Aren't we cute? Yo, those wigs were trash.
I dressed up last year for Tag Talk as Christian, but Brood. Like I was Christian, Haley was Edge, and we were the Brood. And she had like an old man decoration that she dressed up as Gangrel. So we were like the Brood. But I had this blonde wig for Christian because he had long blonde hair, and I obviously have brown hair. And it was so itchy because it was cheap. It was, a cheap wig.
Yeah.
And it I cut it. I did everything I could, but it was like so itchy on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
And I took it off after the show. I literally threw it on the ground. I had like my wig cap on, and I looked. I had like hives, like down my back from this wig. I don't know what happened.
It's just synthetic fibers,
She's up in my closet with my other Halloween costumes. I might have to break it out.
Okay.
Be the
September or October, the first.
How many October shows do we have? Let's see.
We have 4.
Yes.
Okay.
We have the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. Ooh.
Okay.
The 13th, we got to go all out because it's 13th.
Okay.
We'll do it.
I'm ready.
We're doing Halloween costumes, guys.
Okay. I got them in queue, so.
Period. We're going to do it. But we were talking about Juice Robinson and got to backtrack through our minds. This lumberjack match was good. I think Hangman versus Jay White, which I'm presuming is where we're going, question mark. I'm really interested in that. One, because the match is going to be great. Obviously, it's Hangman and Jay White. Hello. No problems detected. I'm really curious where we go with Jay White, because I also kind of lurking in the shadows is Adam Cole. And Adam Cole has been gone for a while. And I'm not saying that Adam Cole is coming back soon or anything along those lines. But I think Jay White, Adam Cole is kind of a banger. And I think that's where we should go. Because I think, when Adam Cole comes back, he's going to be a babyface. I have no reason for this besides the fact that I feel like it. Okay? So Adam Cole comes back. He's a babyface. He's like, I'm here to get my life back on track. Everything was taken from me, but I have some scores to settle. And then we do the Jay White story. Because I think Adam Cole and Jay White both need something to really sink their hooks into. And I think it's 2 birds, 1 stone. You give that to them. You could do that World's End if Adam Cole is back. I don't know how severe his injury was. Or Revolution or something. And you have a great story there. Because Hangman Jay White is obviously great. 100%. But I do feel like it's a warm up for Jay White and also a high level feud to keep Hangman cycling. So I think Adam Cole.
Matt Taven, actually, I actually brought this up earlier of him making comments about Wardlow and the injury that he had and Adam Cole. And he mentioned in here that it's been crazy. It's been a year, but Adam Cole's pretty serious ankle injury. And he goes back and forth of mentioning how long-term his health is, right? Because he's had a lot of stop and starts. But he made some comments in that interview that I'm like, hey, sounds like Adam Cole's already in the ring. Sounds like he's already back to working out.
I think so. Adam Cole is another one. He has, I think he streams on Twitch. He might also stream on YouTube. I'm not sure, but he's a gamer. And I love his little Chugs persona. I love everything about that.
I love Chugs.
I love Chugs. He's so cute. He's so cute.
America's sweetheart.
He's just a little baby. I just want to squeeze him. I also have an Adam Cole. That is Adam Cole. I don't know if you can see it.
I love it.
Little baby ROH Adam Cole, super skinny. When he was so skinny, you could see like the ribs in his pecs. Like
okay, but skinny. Like that was like kind of hot during that time, and
I just love him. So that is Adam Cole right there. I don't know if you guys can see, but anyway, I love Adam Cole, and I think now that you mentioned Matt Taven, I also feel like because Roderick Strong and Hook wrestled, and Roderick Strong was really nice to Hook. So Adam Cole is coming back to the babyface.
I have my theory, and I want him back in ROH because I want someone to be dominant. That's from the past. That'll kind of bridge the current and, previous and whatever. I want Adam Cole to come back, and I want him to destroy the Undisputed Kingdom. I want there to be some feuds going on. I want them to be harken back to the old days when they would fight each other. Because there's nothing I love more than tag team or factions fighting each other. Because you know that they know every move each other makes. Because I selfishly want Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly again.
Yes. Oh my God. We talked about this. I think on like Wrestling Made Me Cry episode 1 or something. Like, it was a long time ago, but that feud, I think it's because they're so doll-like that like both of them.
Oh my gosh!
Like you see Kyle O'Reilly, you see Adam Cole, you're like sentimental. They're cute. They're like very emotional. They're entirely themselves. Like there's nothing hyper masculine about them in a good way. Don't come for me. And so when they feuded in NXT, I always felt like there was a little bit of wasted potential, mainly because of Karrion Kross. But I'm into it. I love how we just like spiraled from Juice Robinson to Jay White, Hangman Page to Adam Cole.
That's a thing. Like wrestling is back. Wrestling is back for good, and it's not going anywhere. And yes, I mean, I did want to, selfishly mention WWE and the cool things going on, and how Jimmy Uso got his first singles title win. Hallelujah. We're gonna go into Bad Blood, which I think is going to be so great, and I'm gonna bring that up next week. But I'm just like stoked. I'm stoked as hell.
Yeah. I'm excited because I think AEW is really getting its groove back in a lot of ways. And I think some of that has to do with getting talent back from injury and that kind of stuff. Will Rallis Sport says, I like Collision. Do you agree Saraya had her best match at AEW last night? I bring that up because Jamie Hayter's back. And I think the Saraya match was good. Saraya re-signed with AEW. I didn't even know that her contract was coming up.
It's like her I think it was their 1-year extension deal.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So I think think when it comes to Saraya, AEW needs to figure out what to do with her because it does feel like they're trying a lot of different things to see kind of what works with Saraya. But Jamie Hayter, I think, being back is a huge boon to AEW. I'm so excited about that. But I also think wrestling as a whole, like in the whole business, is back. We see them getting like really big TV deals, merch sales are up, like social media engagement is up. I think a lot of people who kind of faded out from wrestling are coming back because they're hearing about all these cool things that are going on.
Right.
It does kind of feel like New Japan is a little bit excluded from in the West. Like I think Western fans, I think because AEW and WWE are both doing so well, I feel like the Western audience of New Japan has kind of dropped off, which is wrong because New Japan is also cooking. New Japan is cooking for the first time since before the pandemic. So they deserve it. Pandemic New Japan, if you are an OG who survived post-elite New Japan, you deserve a trophy.
Oh, thank you. I will take my trophy. Thank you so much.
But I wanted to know your thoughts because last night on Collision, Roosh basically reunited LFI. And the Beast Mortos is there, Mystico is there, Roosh is there. I wanted to know your thoughts on that because I know that people were a little bit, what's the word? Disheartened because Andrade left, he went back to WWE. They didn't really do anything with LFI and like the interim, but they're bringing in luchadors like Hologram, like the Beast Mortos, like Mystico. And so what do you think about Roosh kind of bringing the band together, this like new version of LFI as a trio, mind you, which I think is super important. What are your thoughts? Because I have my thoughts, but I'm really curious.
Yes. Every match that I've seen Roosh in has been so hard hitting that I feel like I want to see other people get the shit kicked out of them, right? Isn't that why we watch wrestling, is for violence? So, and every Beast Mortos match, Ring of Honor to, you know, what's going on in AEW, I freaking love it. So why can't we have a faction of just like really big, meaty luchadors who beat the shit out of everyone? Make them a legitimate threat.
I am so excited by this because I feel like Roosh in AEW has kind of been floating a little bit, like obviously injuries and, you know, unfortunate circumstances aside. So Roosh prior to AEW, I was not that big of a fan of his because I was on the fence. He comes to AEW and I'm into it. I think Roosh as a performer, I don't think there's anybody in AEW that rivals him. Like I feel like he's kind of like his own character. He's on his own little island. And I love the idea of Roosh because we're familiar with him. He's a leader. Like he very much comes across as like not the successor to Andrade, but the man who kind of like succeeded in the coup against him. That's the vibe I get from him.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love him being the one who brings these people together and gives direction to someone like Mortos, for example, who is obviously a fan favorite. People love the Beast Mortos, but like AW, he was kind of just like floating. Like he was just bouncing back and forth from this to this just to keep him in front of an audience. So I love Roosh being the one to kind of like simmer him down and get him into a more stable place. And I think as a trio, I think there's potential because the trios division and the tag division, for that matter, are kind of, you know, shitting the bed a little bit. Like, to be honest, our trios champions are the Blackpool Combat Club, but Wheeler Yuta and then Claudio and Pac, who are divided. So, like, what are we doing there? It would be really cool if LFI was the one to take the trios titles from them. I think that'd be sick. Especially if we're never going to get Death Triangle again because Lucha Bros are in the wind. I think it'd be cool. But I also feel like a singles Roosh, like a single star in Roosh, would be really fun.
Yeah.
Because the TNT title picture is kind of bland a little bit. And I think, I mean, the world title picture is stacked. Like there's no way. But we also have like Will Ospreay in the international title. AEW has no shortage of singles male titles. So I think anything they do with this will be fun. I love that they're kind of reviving this idea that had died with Andrade, essentially. Yeah. And I also love that it means that all of these guys are going to be around for a while, and like they're going to get stuff. Like they're gonna have matches that are going to be pretty cool, and they're going to get stories. And because Roosh in reuniting them, he was very much like, we're back, we're going to be a dominant force, and we're going to do this thing. And I respect it.
I mean, Beast Mortos, as Jose says, Beast Mortos on AEW today, pure joy. So after this, go watch that because it sounds like it's going to be hilarious, but also necessary to watch. I don't know. It might be an earmarked episode for me, because I do love AEW, but I don't know where the future goes with LFI, right? I don't know where the seeds are being planted. I just know that they're back, and I want to see them against every big guy that's in every other faction. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see, Brody versus, I think Brody and Roosh have had a match.
I think so.
Right?
That sounds familiar.
But I want to see them again. I want to see more hostility from LFI. I want to see more big guys against them. I want to see big meaty men slapping meat, because I think that's a component since Hobbs is not around, because he's been out with injury. Miro's asking for his release. Big Bill is wrapped in storyline with Chris Jericho. I mean, what? Tomohiro Ishii is back in Japan. So where are your big guys, right?
Yeah.
And like Eddie Kingston will come back in a couple months, right?
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie versus Beast Mortos. He's going to slap the tits off him. I need it.
Eddie Kingston is in the he's on the bench. I totally forgot.
How could you forget?
I don't know. AEW has so many like of my faves.
Only Kate's favorite wrestler.
I know. Thank God Kate's not here. She'd be so mad. So many of my faves are like they're out with injury. Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, Jay White, Eddie Kingston. So, man, when Eddie Kingston comes back, the pop is going to be unreal.
I will cry. There will be no stopping.
You're going to cry beforehand. Because there's going to be a report that's going to say Eddie Kingston's nearing his return, and you're going to cry every show until he comes back. That's just how it's going to go for you. That was me with Kenny Omega.
I love being red for filth on this show. It's perfect.
When Kenny Omega returns, I feel like I have to take the next day off work. There's no way I'm going to be able to go to work.
Oh, you're not wrong, though.
I will need to like emotionally recover. I love Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Oh man, when he comes back, it's going to be in some heartbreaking angle with like Hangman or some or the Young Bucks or something, and it's going to be destructive. Man, Eddie Kingston. Oh my God, there's like so many stories that I can like see on the horizon happening simply because people are returning from injury, like Adam Copeland.
Yeah.
I tweeted today, go to my Twitter. But what Adam Copeland, I'm presuming, is also in the works to be like training to come back soon because he, posts pictures with FTR and stuff. I am not saying that I know anything, but if you're training, I'm going to start anticipating your return.
But we should mention that Adam Copeland, hours after his injury, was like, well, I'm going to go. I don't know what else to do today, so I guess I'm just going to go into my gym. And he started
On his
1
crutches.
foot fucking planking hours after his fucking surgery.
Can I also just say, Adam Copeland returning to wrestling, one, and then also being at his age and being physically in the best shape. What a monster. A monster. Shout out Science for giving me Adam Copeland back and Christian Cage and Bryan Danielson.
I'm not going to cry.
Shout out to Science. You guys rock. Love STEM. Adam Copeland is a beast.
You want to watch more crime. Yeah.
Kenny Omega too. Kenny Omega. Also, shout out Science.
Amen.
I can't. But Adam Copeland returning. I think when Metalingus hits, I think I might explode. I think I'll have to call you. And because I was listening, I did some cardio this morning before the show. And I like to listen to things that have like a lot of beats per minute when I'm doing cardio. And like Metalingus is obviously on my list. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, Adam Copeland is going to be in this AEW soon. This AEW that is like driven by story. You're going to have Adam Copeland, one of the best storytellers in wrestling history, just there. And then also you have Christian Cage. When they reunite, I'm going to lose my mind. That is like my dream. Like I'm an Edge and Christian girly. Like back in the TLC days, everybody was into the Hardys. I was an Edge and Christian girly. Edge and Christian. I have a picture of Christian Cage right there, and he's staring down on me as I do my podcast. And he has the World Heavyweight title in this picture, by the way. And I'm just like,
yeah. So Adam Copeland's 51st birthday is on October 30th.
He's almost a Halloween baby. That's why he's a vampire.
Oh my God.
I knew that would get you. I knew it. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea he was 51. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. What do you mean what? I thought he was like 44. I don't know.
Oh.
But isn't it crazy that you could be, because it used to be in the past that you had a shelf life in wrestling like 40 at max. And now we have wrestlers who not only are they continuing to wrestle into their 40s and even their 50s, they're like doing it really well. Like Dustin Rhodes is expected to stay with AEW, and he's doing, in my opinion, great work.
It's excellent work.
He's just such an excellent wrestler. You have Christian, you have Adam Copeland, we had Sting, and it's crazy to me. It's shout out Science.
That was part of the, I don't know if you watched the Vince doc. I needed to watch it in days. Some people could just like watch all of the 6+ hours. I can't do that. Sorry. I can do that with like Grey's Anatomy, but this was just, it was too close to home, right?
Yeah.
So I finally finished episode 5 and 6 yesterday. And something that they had mentioned, because they were talking about the CTE, they were talking about, other things with wrestling. It's the fact that, like, yes, we've made wrestling safer by not having chair shots week after week after week, not having to, like, spike heads and do diving headbutts and all the things like week after week, reducing schedules. But like I am from an era where wrestlers would hit 40 and die.
Yeah.
And it wasn't uncommon for wrestlers at 40, which to me is so crazy as someone who is 36 years old. And I feel like, well, I'm not a wrestler. I feel like I'm at like the prime of my life.
Yeah.
So how the people who are like, oh, I wish wrestling was like it was back in the day. Sure, you want violence? Okay, but that was all recorded, so go watch that.
Yeah.
But those wrestlers, a lot of them are not alive. Or a lot of them, like Mick Foley, is in a condition that it's like, because I think Mick Foley is around the same age.
I'm young. I have no idea.
But this man can barely walk.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle too. That man.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of the back of his head, and I said, "Oh, yeah, that is a man who."
And that's, to me, like, when people get upset about tax or glass or that kind of stuff, I'm like, that is way, because the wounds that you get from tax, right, are like so superficial.
Yeah.
I'd rather a wrestler take 20 bumps into a pile of thumbtacks than do a diving headbutt.
Absolutely.
All day, every day. Because I think we like understand the impacts of head injuries and things like that. Yeah. But I also, it's crazy to me that apart from head injuries, wrestlers used to, like, their knees would give out and their shoulders would give out, and they like physically like couldn't move enough to do wrestling. And now you have people like Adam Copeland, who, thanks to the miracles of medicine, are able to be in really great shape and do things, and not just in wrestling, but like in their day-to-day lives, and continue to lift weights and continue to train and like live their lives and not be burdened by injuries they got 20 years prior. It's like, it's really, really crazy to me. And I think it's like the advancements, not just in wrestling, in all sports, the fact that people are not only lengthening their careers, but keeping their bodies healthy enough that the physical impacts in retirement are as minimal as possible. It's mind-boggling to me. And it's happened so fast, because it wasn't that long ago where you would retire at 35 and limp for the rest of your life. It's crazy.
We've watched Mick Foley limp. Remember that like time he was in TNA, and it was painful to watch him try to wrestle because of what he's done to his body. I think about also like gymnastics. Gymnastics for women 20 years ago, 30 years ago was like 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and you retire at 23 because of the damage that they've done over time to their bodies. And then you see people like Simone Biles and I'm trying to think, Andrade from Brazil, that they're in their late 20s. Yeah. And the way that they're being talked about is like, wow, you know, they're up in there in age. Yeah. And they wreck their ankles, they wreck their knees, they wreck their hips. Like, the flexibility has to be there. And I think wrestlers are very similar to gymnasts in the way that they have to move their bodies. It is like a repetition. So the more that you are jumping and, you know, falling and, you know, taking bumps and all the things, it does impact your knees, your legs, everything over time. And it's not a very forgiving sport. So
no, you're 100% right. And it's like, I don't know, I'm just so happy that we're like, you can watch wrestling, and because I watch stuff from the early 2000s or even like the Ruthless Aggression era, and some of it makes me cringe because I know what has happened to that person. But I'm just happy that like Adam Copeland can wrestle, and apart from being an idiot and jumping off the cage and landing on his feet and, you know,
right
that way, I don't have to worry about him like breaking his spine doing the simplest maneuver, if that makes sense. But so
I think also with the change of the times of having these guaranteed contracts, right? If you go out injured, you're still being paid. A lot of these wrestlers back, you know, in the 90s, still the 2000s, without those guaranteed contracts, were still wrestling injured, or like, oh, I know that I'm having a nagging knee injury or a shoulder injury, but I have to make money, so they go out there and wrestle. And I mean, you know what it's like to work out and be like, oh wow, I'm noticing like this body part feels strained, or, you know, something's going on that's like not not allowing me to do 100%. But imagine like you have to do that, 6 days out of the week. You have to perform at that elite level injured. And that's where tears happen. That's where breaks happen. I read Dominique Moceanu, gymnast. I read her book. And during the 1996 Olympics, she had to perform at an elite level with a tibia fracture.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the biggest bone right in your body, in your leg, and like having like that be fractured in a 14-year-old girl because she wasn't warranted the time that it takes to heal an injury like that, and having to perform at that elite level caused her to fall twice on her vault, which you're having to run all the way down, jump off a springboard, and flip and hopefully land. And that is incredibly difficult to do on a tibia injury. And I'm just thinking of all the wrestlers that, like Bret Hart, that he got, that really bad concussion and had to literally go out and wrestle again.
Yeah.
Hours later. And then the next day and the next day. And that's why he's had concussion issues and had that seizure, was because he was continually wrestling with a head injury.
Yeah.
And we've moved so far away from that because a wrestler gets a concussion and they're out for months, right?
Yeah. Because you have to pass like a bunch of tests. So I don't remember what year it was, but Tyler Breeze was talking about he got a concussion in NXT. And we were talking about all the tests you had to pass, and he passed all of them except for this one. It was a number test. I don't remember the exact specifics. And he was not allowed to wrestle until he passed it. And it was months. It was months. And it's because your brain is like such a weird thing. But I think part of why I like AEW and the way it treats older wrestlers so much is because I feel like they're not pushed hard. Mm-hmm. Like, look at Sting. He wasn't wrestling all the time. He wrestled for the big matches, and he got to do his thing and retire on his own terms and all that kind of stuff. And the same thing with like Christian Cage or Adam Copeland, who do wrestle more than Sting, but I think they're never in a position where they're pushed beyond what they should be doing or what they think they're physically capable of or what have you. But then you have younger wrestlers who are able to take those risks in like a controlled environment. But if something does happen, they are on the shelf for a long, long time. And so I think that our approach to sports medicine in wrestling and elsewhere, I think is part of the catalyst for why we get to enjoy these legends a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So when Adam Copeland finally does retire and hangs up his boots, I'm going to be very, very tragically depressed about it. But nobody more who would upset me more than Kenny Omega retiring. Kenny Omega, if you're listening, you're just not allowed to retire ever. Omega on commentary. I think one, he'd be good, and two, I think that you can't just Kenny Omega doesn't do social media enough. So like he would just disappear. And I can't do that.
Yeah.
But to kind of circle us back to Grand Slam for a second. I don't remember. I had something that I was going to say about old people. And I don't remember what it was. I need a marinade.
That's all right.
I don't remember. My brain let go of it the moment I started thinking about Kenny Omega retiring.
Happens to the best of us, to be honest.
Grand Slam, like overall, I thought was chef's kiss. Great TV between Dynamite and Collision, obviously. I think the highlight for me was Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. But like on Collision, hello? Sorry, my phone is doing something strange. I need to see my notes. So let me see my freaking notes, dude. I think on Collision, there was also great stuff. I wanted to ask you what you thought about Jack Perry versus Suzuki. So Jack Perry did this like TNT title open challenge, which is like tradition for the title, whatever. And there's a lot of speculation about who it would be. I didn't see anyone predict Suzuki. Like I saw
didn't
a lot
see
of
anyone either.
No, I saw a lot of like Eddie Kingston or like other people from New York, indie people from New York, legends from New York, that kind of stuff. I didn't see any Suzuki. What did you think of the match? Because I really, really liked it.
I was shocked that it was Minoru Suzuki because he's just been, I mean, yeah, he's been around doing things, but I thought he was back in Japan for some reason. So, I mean, airplanes exist, I know, whatever. But I think week after week after week, we're jacking it, right? I'm full on jacking it because I love this Jack Perry. I love this reign. I love everything that's going on. But like, we haven't seen, I mean, we've seen Jack Perry be his character, but we haven't seen him like wrestle like the biggest and, you know, like more things on the line, right? And when you think of Minoru Suzuki, you think, oh, you have to climb a mountain. Like, this is your Mount Everest of wrestlers. And the fact that it ended in a count out was like, okay, he didn't technically beat him, but he matched his energy.
Yeah.
And I think that further develops Jack Perry. Sorry, I have to sneeze.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't want to scream
into
the mic. But it furthers this character, right? This, I'm going to do anything to win. What he was doing on the outside was so brutal that he was just matching that energy, which makes it even more psychotic. And it is for the sickos, right? This wrestling is for the sickos.
Yeah.
I think that Jack Perry is for the sickos.
Yeah. What I really like, and I think what was really showcased a lot in this match, was that Jack Perry is a completely different wrestler than Jungle Boy. Because like Jungle Boy, obviously very successful as Jungle Boy, but he wrestled more like a PWG inspired wrestler.
Yeah.
Jack Perry, on the other hand, I think because of the New Japan experience, is more hard hitting, a little grimier, more like Suzuki than Jack Perry was. And so I think this was a good showcase of that. Like, here's everything Jack Perry learned in New Japan. And I think Jack Perry needed this match because he comes back to AEW. People are excited about the scapegoat, the EVP story, all that kind of stuff. But he kind of has stalled a little bit in the sense that he's TNT champion and he's winning matches and that kind of stuff. But it's like, okay, and I think this match was there to set him back on track for, I'm presuming, a more important title feud with someone. But I do think that I think it was a good surprise. I'm never going to turn down Suzuki.
Absolutely. Never.
I'm always going to be excited. And I don't know. I just think the scapegoat, like, he needs something, another stepping stone, because you're TNT champion.
Yeah.
But what else? Like, you can't just be champion. Like, you have to give me something else.
You can't just be champion. No.
You need to give me something, especially if you go to the AEW roster page and like where they have the champions. And you look at it. I was this morning. I was looking, and I was like, this is, I think, the best crop of champions AEW has ever had. And it's like, because they all offer a little something extra, except for Jack Perry, who he wins his title defenses. He's the scapegoat character. He does the promos, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what else do you want? Like, what motivates you? And I think he's kind of lost that a little bit. But overall, I thought this match was good. I think Dynamite was better than Collision, unsurprisingly, in a lot of ways.
Interesting.
Oh, you liked Collision more?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I mean, I think here's the thing. I didn't think that they were bad. I just thought that, well, I don't know. Maybe I take that back. I think that Dynamite had the Danielson match. And Dynamite also had the Moxley and Darby match. I think it also had the Young Bucks match. And it had a good moment with Hook. But I didn't really care about the Mariah May Yuka match as much as I wanted to, even though that set up, Mina coming out and, whatever is happening. Mm-hmm. I far more liked the Jamie Hayter Saraya match on Collision. I liked the Jack Perry match more on Collision. I loved, as much as Brody King and Action Andrade being only like less than 2 minutes or whatever, I needed that storyline, right? I loved the trios match. And there was just so much more packed into Collision than Dynamite. And there was the same length of time. Hangman Adam Page was great. Okada versus Sammy Guevara was great. Like, more things happened on Collision than Dynamite, but Dynamite was obviously like bookended with great matches. 5 matches on Dynamite? That's it?
Yeah. I feel you. They were like 2 different flavors, which I think Dynamite Collision and Collision have always kind of been that way. But I know we're coming up on 2 hours, but I also wanted to ask you, what do you think of MXM collection, Mansoor and what did you think of the daddy ass angle where you have thoughts, but so daddy ass basically like is in disguise. He's revealed because like they're doing MXM collection fashion week or whatever. So like we're building the Acclaimed versus MXM collection. What are your thoughts?
Okay, obviously love it. The moment that they revealed who was wearing the new and improved Max Caster jacket, I saw the ass and I immediately said, that's Billy Gunn. As someone who's been staring at Billy Gunn's ass for 30 years.
We need to tell Jeremy to make that a short. That needs to be a YouTube short.
I've been watching his ass. Hello?
I've been watching his ass for 30 years is crazy. That is crazy.
And he's got like a belly button tattoo. Who else has a belly button tattoo like that? I mean, Batista used to, but he got that covered up.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
I love a good belly button tattoo. You give me a buff man with a belly button, even like anybody with a belly button tattoo, regardless of body size, give me that. Everybody should get their belly button tattoos, not just a chest piece. Give me a belly button. Anyways, I love it. I want MXM to go on top. I got a little bit confused because I thought that they were Ring of Honor specific. But it sounds like something happened and they had to improvise.
Yeah.
If this is your improvisation, if this is the next step, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with this being your, okay, we have to make do with what we got. And honestly, if they don't beat the piss out of Max Caster, what are we here for?
I agree. And 2, I love MXM. I think that they are so funny.
Yeah.
And like so refreshing because we haven't had anything like this in AEW yet. I think the feud with the Acclaimed is kind of a no-brainer feud, given the context. I would love to see MXM come out on top. Not only come out on top, I would love to see this lead to like fractures in the Acclaimed. Because I am still of the belief that a feud between Max Caster and Anthony Bowens would be the best way to move forward, especially for Max Caster. Yeah. And something to kind of breathe some life into Max Caster. Because like Anthony Bowens, people want the singles run. He'd be like in that feud, he'd be the babyface. And you can kind of give Max Caster something else to make him more of a heel character. Like it's a good opportunity for him to kind of shift and move. Because he is kind of like the role he has in the Acclaimed, he has to have because someone has to have it. And I think Anthony Bowens in the Acclaimed gets a little bit more freedom to kind of move around and change himself a little bit. And Daddy Ass is Daddy Ass, so you can do whatever you want. But I think MXM has been very, very popular because they're so fresh and new. And it's almost like the Acclaimed is kind of being usurped by these newbies. So I'd be into it. I think the Acclaimed should lose, to be honest. I think the Acclaimed should break up, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think that Daddy Ass kind of trying to mediate between Caster and Bowens, that's a good time, super fun time. And like you can always reunite the Acclaimed. Like no one is saying it has to be the end of the Acclaimed forever and ever and always. You can always reunite them. But I think that something has to give here. And I think that a feud between them is probably the best way to go. Instead of just breaking them up and they go do whatever. Because if this is going to sound really bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. If you break up the Acclaimed and Anthony Bowens goes off and does something, there is nothing for Max Caster. Because his character is so entrenched in the Acclaimed. Like, does he go out and he raps and it's not about the Acclaimed?
Does he go out and rap?
Does he? Does he go out and he's like, oh. He goes out and he raps and he's sad and pathetic. Like, that's how it would go. Yeah. And it's not me trying to be mean, but I genuinely do think Anthony Bowens he's just by nature of the Acclaimed, he can rotate out of the Acclaimed a lot easier than Max Caster can. Simply because of the characters.
Yeah.
So I think Max Caster needs the feud with Anthony Bowens to switch himself, reinvent himself, and not be forced to do that in a feud with someone else.
Yeah.
I think if the Acclaim breaks up and Anthony Bowens leaves Max Caster behind, Max Caster sinks. Genuinely.
I agree 100%.
I love that. And I also think Max Caster would benefit from losing to Anthony Bowens and being off TV for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But MXM, I love. It gives me Fashion Police energy. I love the Fashion Police. We talked about this last time. Mm-hmm. I have a Fashion Police costume too. So if you want to be Fashion Police, let me know.
Yeah, let's do it. I think I texted you.
Oh, you. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Halloween costumes. But I love the Fashion Police. They kind of give me that energy, but more Tyler Breeze male model-y.
Yes.
With a little bit of like old school, like a little bit of femininity, but a little bit of like flair. I love it. I love it.
Same.
Yeah. MXM. Great people too. Just great human beings. We're coming up on 2 hours. Did you have any final thoughts? Anything left to talk about?
Nothing left.
Nothing left. We ran the gauntlet. Do you want to do your plugs then?
Well, you can find me here every Sunday for Wrestling Made Me Cry. All of October, we're going to be doing costumes. So you should tune in to see what costumes we're going to do, because they could be all wrestling related. They could not be wrestling related. They could be bloody. They could not be bloody. Depends on what you want. You can find me over at our local establishment on Thursdays doing a Ring of Honor recap. It's called Honor Ramble. Lately, we've been rambling more than we've been talking about Ring of Honor, because it's hard to get through. But I'm over there at our local establishment with Kimmy Sokol. We've been taking it since Kyle's departure. And I'm going to be on some Bad Blood shows coming up tonight. I'm guest starring on Ella J's predictions show. So stay tuned for that, and I'll have more predictions in the future. Where can we find you? Oh, and you can find me at _queer auntie right here. Any social media, you can find me. Just please do not do what somebody did the other day and go through all of my pictures on Instagram all the way back to 2018 and liking them. And I was like, what? Why am I getting like 200 notifications? That's a lot of pictures. That's a lot of pictures for you to like. I'm not going to name names, but I did send them a message and I was like, hey, love the support. However, 2018 is a long time.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter at Kiley Wrestling. And only on Twitter at Kiley Wrestling. My Twitter presence has been a grab bag of weird stuff as I am finishing a lot of school things, a lot of work things. Yeah. I'm doing my best, okay? But you can follow me on Twitter at Kiley Wrestling. You can catch me here every Sunday at noon Eastern on Fightful Overbooked for Wrestling Made Me Cry. We have a lot of things in the pipeline. Colin's mentioned our costumes. We also have like a lot of big wrestling shows coming up that we're going to be talking about. So join us for Wrestling Made Me Cry, to show where we talk about the things that made us cry. And that's the premise of the show. It's open-ended. But this is also Fightful Overbooked. There's a lot of shows on Fightful Overbooked, wrestling and not wrestling. So make sure you go check those out. Go to like the playlist tab. There's a lot of interesting things going on. A lot of great people on Fightful Overbooked. All that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us. I had such a great time on the show. It flew by. I was literally sitting here and I was like, oh, should I bring up MXM? I was like, oh, we gotta talk about MXM. And I was like, okay, we've been talking for like an hour. We have time. And I looked and we're at hour 45. And I was like, oh. I try not to go above 2 hours because I know that like people get tired and I get tired. So listen, this was a journey of a show.
I'm proud of us.
I'm proud of us too. This was such a mature show compared. The show before this one was diabolical. It was diabolical. We were on something. I don't know. We were high on life or something. It feels like a fever dream. A fever dream.
We were high on life.
On life. But yeah, go watch that show, guys, and compare the energy and let me know. People were DMing me and they were like, great show today. And I was like, don't remember. I remember nothing about that show. I think we just started, like, the ball started rolling down the hill and we were just trying to catch up. But that's what you get with us. You get a grab bag. Some days it's chaos. Some days it's this. And we're very mature and honest. Listen, I take that back. I take that back. We had some crazy moments today. I called Juice Robinson rabies. Perfect. I take it back.
I mean, you're not wrong, though.
Yeah. All that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you next week, next Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, here, Fightful Overbooked. Be there. Or be square.